Hi there, Sandra here from the Schwowin's Nest. Welcome to my channel. Today I have a Timber Tuesday episode for you where everything I make has wood in it. I found some old pieces of shiplap wood at my cottage and I'm taking them to my miter saw just to clean up the edges and make them the right length for what I need for this project. I also found this piece of white wood paneling and I went to my Cricut and I designed this beautiful decal. And then I realized because I'm working at my cottage today, I didn't bring any transfer tape. So that's why you see me trying to find the end of the packing tape. And if you've ever tried to do that, you know my frustrations. In order to make the packing tape not so sticky, I just put it on my hand. You can also put it on your clothing just to fuzz it up a little bit so it doesn't have quite the amount of stickiness that it would be if it was brand new. I'm going to go ahead and use that, and I'm going to have to section off my stencil and do each piece individually. But it turned out absolutely fabulous. I'm so happy with the result, and I'm so glad that this happened because now I know that packing tape will work in a pinch if you don't have any transfer tape. Since the paneling was white, I decided to flip over these pieces of shiplap and use the raw wood side instead of the painted white side. I'm just putting a bead of hot glue in there and I'm just going to slide in my sign and make sure that it's stuck really well before I move it. I'll do the same thing for the other side, and then I'm going to flip it over and reinforce it a little bit more with some extra hot glue. This year for the fall season, I've challenged myself to only use things that I already have in my stash. This was a wheat pick from Dollar Tree. I got it last year. It was left over. And I've also got some other items that I created last year that I know I'm going to want to repurpose and create something new out of them for this year. So you won't see me using any new Dollar Tree items, but I'm going to have some really fun fall decor for you coming in the next couple of weeks. So I hope you stay tuned. Then I added some white rope to the bottom and top of the sign, crossing it over once and hot gluing it in the back. Then I also used the white rope to create a hanger. I probably wouldn't hang this using the hanger, but I think it's a beautiful decorative piece. I'll probably put a sawtooth hanger on the back of the sign just to make sure it doesn't fall. This next project turned out super adorable. I'm so pleased with the result. I have a bunch of old barnwood at my cottage, and I decided to create some pumpkins using a piece of it. So I've got it clamped to my picnic table, very professional here. I'm in my bathing suit, and I'm going to use my jigsaw to start cutting out some pieces of wood. I'm cutting out some pumpkins and I'm going to leave the base at the bottom flat so they can stand on their own. Once I was done cutting, I sanded all the pieces on the fronts and the backs and rounded off the corners a little bit. I also cut some pieces for the middle of the pumpkins. I wanted them to be 3D. So I kind of made these smaller pumpkin shapes. I guess you could say they're more of an oval with a flat bottom. And now I'm going to glue them one on either side of the pumpkins. Then I started to embellish the top of the pumpkins using the items from my stash. And then I went outside and grabbed a piece of wood and just glued that on as the stem. And I totally love these pumpkins. I think they turned out even better than what I imagined. I also used some of this pipberry garland from the Dollar Tree. That was also something from my stash that I grabbed last year. So if you see it this year, grab it. I love using pipberries for the little tendrils on the pumpkins because they're wired and they work really, really well and look amazing. Project number 3 is with these two little scrap wood houses. While I had my miter saw out, I figured I might as well cut a few other little pieces that I can use in future projects too. I'm painting this one white just with my DIY chalk paint recipe. It's a regular white latex paint and it's got some talc mixed in with it to make it more of a chalk consistency. The second house, I'm going to use Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the color Chiffon Cream. I just wanted them to have a little bit of a difference. I didn't want both of them to be the same color. Now that they're dry, I'm going to freehand a pumpkin on one and a gourd on the other. Now, pumpkins are probably the easiest thing that you can hand draw. You start out with an oval in the center and then you add some bananas on either side or some crescent moons, whatever you want to call them. I just like to call them bananas. Anyway, I'm going to be leaving a little bit of white space in between so I can highlight the grooves of the pumpkin. I'm using a color from Americana called Honey Brown, and I really love this color for fall because it's an orangey brown color. It's not a bright orange, and it's more of a farmhouse rustic kind of color, so it works with my decor really well. If you don't want to attempt to freehand these, by all means, get online, grab a picture of a pumpkin, trace it with your pencil, and do the pencil markings on the back so you can trace it over. You can also use your Cricut to create some stencils. I know they have tons of different styles of pumpkins and gourds on their Cricut design space. And you can also just use the tissue paper method if you want to print off a gourd and a pumpkin and then put them on with Mod Podge. There are so many different ways that you can do this. A great resource to find some free printables, especially now for fall, is Pixabay.com. I've got the link down in my description box, and all you need to do is search for what you're looking for. Using my ruler, I drew some lines, probably about 1/4 of an inch all around, just the sides and the top, and that's going to give me an area where I can add a little colored border. I'm going to do one in green and one in the honey brown. Using the same color as the trim, I did some dry brushing on the sides of the blocks, but I'm going to leave the backs blank for now because I'll probably use that for something else down the road. I put the opposite color of trim down on the bottom of each of the blocks and then dry brushed them, one with the orange and one with the green. My last project is making a garland from some wooden beads and some acorns from the Dollar Tree. Again, these are from last year. I'm using a piercing tool just to pierce through the styrofoam portion of each of the acorns so I can easily feed my twine through. I put a piece of tape on the end of the twine and I knotted the other end because I knew how long I wanted the garland to be. I'm going to add 3 beads and then I'm going to go through 1 acorn, and I'll repeat this process until I get to the end of my twine. I'm going to be making a twine tassel for the end of my garland. Now, I'm not really good at making them. I know the procedure, but for some reason they just don't always turn out the way I think they should. So I'm going to tie this off and then I'll put a loop on it, sort of like ahead of the tassel. And then I'm going to tie it onto the end of my garland and then cut the loops so it has a nice fringe at the bottom. I want to create a tag for the other end of the sign, so I'm using some of this MDF board. You can see that there's a little broken piece at the top, so I thought it's perfect to use up for this tag. I'm just using my utility knife, scoring it quite a few times, and then it will easily snap. Using some 60 grit sandpaper, I'm just going to sand the edges nice and round and clean them up. Since I left the beads their natural wood color, I decided not to paint this tag. It's a nice brown color, so I'm just taking my Sharpie and I'm going to write the words harvest time. Then I'm going to add a little bit of embellishment with some twine and a few of the pip berries from the garland. I hope you enjoyed my farmhouse wood DIYs today. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. That tells YouTube you like what I'm doing and they promote me more, which helps my channel grow. If you're new to my channel, I would love for you to stick around a while by hitting that subscribe button. That black arrow will show you exactly where to click. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one.